Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
May I present to you the cat?
I am Nadella. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
I'm here.
And he is here. You know, and he's happy. Go-lucky, man. He's ready for this.
I'm so happy.
No bad news, no nothing, no bad comments. Listener, this might be the shortest episode we've ever had. And we've got a lot to talk about. I'm kidding. We love Caleb. Well, one of us does. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's get into this. We got some Apple news. And looks like there's a judge that is very upset with Apple right now.
Yeah. So, listener, you remember how Epic did a dumb and violated App Store policy in Fortnite without clearing it with Apple via a server update, right? So it wasn't even an actual update to their app. It was a server-side update. And Apple kicked them off of the App Store, and then they filed a lawsuit against Apple, calling them a monopoly. This is years ago. It's just been boiling in the background for a long time.
True. It has been.
Last year, I think it was, the judge found against Epic in this lawsuit, found in favor of Apple on every count except for one. Essentially saying that, no, Epic, Apple is not a monopoly in the way that you're describing. However, Apple, you are doing this one thing that is extremely anti-competitive, which is forcing developers to use in-app purchases via your payment system on your devices, and not letting them tell users if there is another option for payments. Like, that's ridiculous. So you need to allow developers to not even put their own payment systems into their apps, but even just tell users that there's another option to pay. Right? So here's in-app purchases, but also if you want to go to our website, then you save $1 or something like that. They're all like, so Apple, you have to change your terms and conditions to allow developers to do that. And that was all good. It was Apple kind of isn't a monopoly in the way that Epic claimed specifically, but also, there's not really anything to benefit anyone other than Apple by Apple refusing to let developers tell people about other options to pay for stuff outside of the App Store and in-app purchases. So it seemed like good things all around. And in response to that, Apple did what Apple do when Apple is told to do things by governments. They technically did change their terms and conditions to allow developers to put one link to something outside of the app and the App Store, and they could put a payment thing on the other end of that thing. However, if a user clicked on that link to go to a different website or something to pay for a subscription or sign up for something or anything like that, Apple then charged the developer between 12 and 27% of that thing that happened not on Apple's services. That was their policy.
What? Yep.
Epic appealed or Epic went back to the judge and appealed, not appealed because they found
More
it in favor of, but Epic basically, went back to the judge with new evidence and all this stuff saying, we don't think that Apple is actually complying with your order on this regard. And what has happened this past week is that the judge sided with Epic again on this case and sent a hilariously strongly worded injunction to
Yeah.
Apple saying essentially, you've lied on the stand. And in fact, they called out an Apple executive for potential criminal prosecution by the Department of Justice for straight up just lying under oath on stand. She's all like, hey, DOJ, maybe look at this dude. He could do time. And so, yeah, like you've lied, you've cheated, you're not following through with what I ordered you to do. And there will be no injunctions. There will be no delays. You can appeal this if you want, but right now, in this moment, you have to change your policies to allow developers to link to anything they want to offer options for consumers to pay outside of your app store. And you're not allowed to charge them a percentage fee for something that happens business that is transacted on services that have nothing to do with you. So here's the question, listener. Why is this good news? Because I said I'm only talking about good news. So speaking from the perspective of somebody who did his time as an Apple fanboy for a few years, back in the late 2000s, it's been a minute. When we started this podcast, I was very much in the perspective of like, I really like Apple, like a lot of their stuff, like the things they do. Other options are good though, so that's fine. And I have since then, over time, become a basically incurable skeptic and pessimist and cynic, and I kind of hate everything that everyone is doing. So this whole like I'm only talking about good news, listeners, right here. This is the beginning of my redemption arc. So that's what's going on here. But from that perspective, it's really nice to see giant corporation Apple being forced to do something that really only benefits consumers. Like, who suffers for this? Apple. That's it. And can they afford to suffer? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They have so much money. It's fine. They can suffer a bit. That's not a problem. And essentially all this does is it means that developers are going to be able to look for or offer up other options for you to pay things inside of their apps that won't, have to charge. Well, they won't have to pay Apple's 30%, which means they won't have to charge you for that 30%. And, it's the kind of thing too, where like, if you have a smaller streaming service that you really like, that you want to subscribe to because you want to actually support the people who make the thing, like Nebula or Dropout, or if you use the Patreon app to support people on Patreon and stuff like that, typically in these cases, you are giving money because you want these people to have money. And it really bites when Apple, giant multi-trillion-dollar corporation, literally one of the most valuable companies on the planet, takes 30% of the money you're trying to give to this dude who writes comics on Patreon, That's not a great feeling as a consumer. And so Patreon being able to say, hey, if you, in the app, put a button in there that says, click on this button, sign up for this Patreon here, and they will get 30% more of your money than they were before. That feels pretty good. That is a pro-consumer thing. And as much as I love to crap on Tim Sweeney, and I do love to crap on Tim Sweeney, he's not a great dude, right? He's an obnoxious, self-centered turd. However, Epic has actually started putting together a thing in response to this that I think that may already be available. So they were kind of banking on this and have been working on it for a minute. But it is essentially a service that exists entirely to allow app developers to use Epic's payment system to charge people for stuff in their apps, right? So instead of having to use Apple's payment system, and instead of having to roll your own payment system or go with a different, third-party provider like Square or whatever, you can use Epic, the Epic Game Store's payment system. And if you do that, if you use this new thing that they've got, like the Epic Game Store already charges a fairly low percentage for all of these options. It's 12%, which is pretty good for developers. If you do that, they will only charge you the 12% on the payments that are made after $1 million every year. Not in total. Every year it resets.
Oh, wow.
So if you're an app developer, you can send people through this Epic little applet for payments, for stuff in your app, subscriptions, one-time payments, whatever. Send them to the Epic Game Store, have them pay there, and you will get all of the money that they spend until you hit $1 million. Then Epic takes 12%, and then it resets again the next year. So that is good news for developers as well.
Yeah. Wow.
So there you go. A judge is very upset with Apple, and only good things have happened as a result to that so far. Apple has already changed the policy that is written. There are not many apps that have changed the way they're doing things yet, because you have to recode the app and then resubmit it and stuff like that. So that process hasn't really happened yet, but Epic already has their payment thing up and running. Jack Conte, CEO of Patreon, has already said that Patreon is going to be changing the way that they're doing stuff so that they can get Apple's 30% out of people who are doing Patreon donations through the app. So there's a couple of things that are already moving, that are already happening. And it's good.
Yeah, dude, that's good. I heard about this, but I didn't realize Epic did that.
Yeah.
Like,
It
pretty
was
dope.
It's like, listen, I said, I don't like Tim Sweeney. I can hate Tim Sweeney and still like some of the things that Epic does. Like Fortnite, I still think is predatory and awful, but Epic is doing some good stuff, It's just like I can hate some of the stuff Apple does and still think that Tim Cook is a decent, okay fella. I don't actually know if he is, to be clear. I've never met the
Who
guy,
knows?
but
Well,
he might be. I don't know.
I can add a little bit to that, because I did hear that, like, when it came down to this type of stuff, Phil Schiller actually wanted to do it the right way, and Tim was like, no, we're going to do it this way.
That's true. Yeah. Wild when Phil Schiller is the one who's
talking reasonably,
championing the consumer.
Yeah.
Especially
when he was the one, like, he's the main reason why certain Apple things are not on Android, like iMessage.
Yeah, good old Phil. Anyways, so yeah, that's Apple, and that's, frankly, I can't remember the name of the judge in this case, but she's cool. Like her.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Good job. Nice ruling.
That's good news. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. We'll go into some Google news. Apparently, Android won't be at Google I/O.
Yeah, at least there's a potential chance that might be the case, because Google announced this week that they are going to reveal a bunch of Android updates a week before Google I/O. So this is happening on May 13th, and it's basically going to be, it's called the Android Show I/O Edition. And I find that interesting. So they're going to put out a YouTube video on the Android YouTube channel. That's basically like what you would have seen at I/O if we cared about Android enough to put it there. At least that's how I'm reading this. There might still be a few things talking about Android at I/O in the keynote, but I don't know for sure. So, but they did say that they're going to be talking pretty much all Android a week before I/O in this little not event video thing. So
I guess that's good for us. We have the week before, we have some news before it, so that's good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We'll have something to talk about the week before. it's it's an interesting move, which means that I/O will be almost exclusively Gemini, which it already has been the last couple weeks or years, anyways. With just at the end, we do still have Android that we have to talk about for 10 minutes. This at least gives them. I don't know how long of an event this is going to be. I'm hoping more than 20, 30 minutes, because come on, Google, give us something when it comes to Android. But who knows? We'll have to talk about it after it happens. But yeah, May 13th, like I said, it will stream on the Android YouTube channel. If you're interested in watching it, it is at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting
All
to see what
right.
they have to say. All right, Google Messages unsubscribe button is here.
Yeah, listener, it's probably been at least a month, maybe long, or maybe even long. I don't know how long ago it's been, but they announced a while back that Google Messages were going to be getting an unsubscribe button. So basically, any of those messages that sent, like in the bottom of the message, like send stop to unsubscribe, or things like that. This will basically just give you an option, a button right there at the bottom. Just click on that and it'll send that automatically. This goes for any messages that come to you from a business, or those like short code phone number things that you get from usually businesses, or my least favorite, politicians.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So I actually am really looking forward to. I guess I can't really look forward to this because I don't have Google Messages. I'm using an iPhone. But for all of you that are using Google Messages, this is something that I think is going to be really nice to have, and I really hope that Apple copies this. Some point in time, probably in 2 or 3 years.
They already do it in Mail.
Yeah,
they really should add that to iMessage.
It would be really
100%.
nice, especially now that they're in RCS and we're getting more things like this.
Seriously.
So, yeah, I like this. I really think it's a good user-facing upgrade for sure.
Good. All right, Google's own version of Duolingo.
Now, going back to Google AI, because everything obviously has to do with AI and Gemini and whatnot.
Is anyone else over it? I'm over the AI craze.
I've been over it for like a year, man. It's
I'm just so done.
I kind of wish that I had very specific use cases for AI, because those actually tend to be very helpful, but I don't have any specific use cases for AI. So
you know what? Actually, I heard this on a podcast the other day, and this would probably be one thing I would totally do. You know how? What they do with AI, the only thing that he does, you talked about, is he takes all the user agreement stuff. So at the beginning of like iTunes or something, copies all of it, gives it to the AI and says, hey, summarize what this is. And then it summarizes and goes through and says,
brilliant.
Oh, you agree to this or disagree and do this.
That's
and I was like,
great idea.
Oh my gosh. So there's one thing I heard this. I can't remember what podcast I listened to. And I was like, he's like, yeah, that's the only thing I do when I agree to services or something or games. I copy and paste it over to, I can't remember which one he used. He says, it just say, summarize this for me. What does this say? And
my gosh, that's brilliant.
That is
and I was like,
honestly, like it when it's something like that, it really doesn't matter which AI you're using, as long as it's one of the main 5. They all do a decent enough job at summarizing text. He went off and he did one, and it was like saying something in the game. It says, you won't dress up as this character and go kill somebody or something like that, or we're not liable if you do this, some crazy things that they put in there, but no one really reads them. And I was like, I wonder. So I did hear that earlier this week on something. I was like, that will probably be the one thing I would use it for is all these user agreements, just to see what you're agreeing to. That's amazing.
Sorry, we went off on that and I just thought of that and I was like, oh yeah. So if you ever, listener,
awesome.
Curious on what you're agreeing to, I mean, you ask the AI and be like, here, summarize this and tell me what it says I'm agreeing to.
That's brilliant. Now, things like that, AI is actually extremely beneficial for.
Sorry, total high side note, but I really wanted to mention that when I heard that.
That is
So
awesome.
I just remembered. Yeah.
Man, I'm going to have to start doing that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
no, that's a great idea.
So anyway, Google's own version of Duolingo. Sorry.
Well,
Let's get back on topic.
This is actually another thing that is now kind of available inside of Gemini that I think is kind of cool. So this is an experiment from Google Labs, which is basically like just random things that people at Google can try out. And if it ends up being interesting or working well, then it moves on up the system and gets implemented into different things. And Google, obviously Google allows people that work at Google to use the code for Gemini to do different things inside of Google because obviously they have, easy access to all that stuff. But some people inside of Google Labs have used Google's LLM to basically make not a full-on copycat of Duolingo or any of these language learning apps, but just their 3 little experiment type things. They're called little language experiments, as they call it. And there's 3 different things inside of it. It's called Tiny Lesson, Slang Hang, and Word Cam. Now, what these do now, Tiny Lessons is basically, it says it helps learners recall situation-specific vocabulary. And now, one of the examples I saw is like if you're trying to call a cab or something, you can just go into this and be like, how do I call a cab in this language? And it'll just pop up a little thing and it'll tell you what to say and how to say it. And there you go. And then the Slang Hang basically gives you more realistic conversation words to use. Whereas like Duolingo and those other type of language learning apps are a lot more formal when it comes to how you're speaking to people, and depending on the environment and people you're talking to, you're not gonna they're gonna be like, why are you saying weird words like why are you saying it in this sort of way? It doesn't fully make sense. Whereas this will tell you this is actually how people will say what you want to say versus the quote unquote correct way to say something or the traditional way of saying something. So I think that's kind of cool. And then WordCam says it identifies and labels real-world objects in the learner's target language using photos. So, you can show it a picture of something that's in your environment and be like, what is this in this language? And it tells so if you have a water bottle, you can show it the picture of the water bottle and be like, how do you say this? Or what is this in this language, So if you're out in a country that doesn't speak English or whatever language that you traditionally speak and you want to say it or ask about something to someone in their own language, you can do that.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Now, it's not something that's really set up to be the best way to full-on teach you a new language, but in certain scenarios, I think it will definitely help. And I would probably use this in along with Duolingo or something like that, because like I said, this gives you a little more real world use of these languages, because Duolingo, just some of the phrases that they give you in Duolingo are just you would never say some of these phrases. And it's just weird. But this, obviously, you can be like, how do I say this in this language? And it'll tell you exactly how to say it. And it's quick and easy and really nice. So I think it's actually really cool.
That is actually. I like it. Might have to try it out. All right, next topic here. Wes will now know when it is safe to leave the house. So how will I know? Because I just want to know. These are things I need to know every day.
Especially this time of year, Wes. You will definitely appreciate this. So, the Pixel Weather app now has a pollen tracker that is live inside the U.S. So it can tell you basically a weather forecast for how the pollen is going to be in your area. So I know you, Wes, in particular, have a lot of allergies and basically die every time you walk outside your house. So,
Poor excuse for a human, I know. No, this is cool, actually, and it's in the weather app, huh?
yeah, it's just built right into the weather. Now, again, I don't know exactly how it works because I don't have the Pixel weather app. I'm on iOS. I can't use this, and I'm one of the lucky people that doesn't actually have allergies, if very many, if any. So it's not something I would really use anyways. But for those of you that do have a Pixel phone with the Pixel weather app and have really bad allergies, like Wes, and you want to breathe, or at least know when you are going to have struggling times breathing when you walk outside, then this new feature inside of the weather app will give you that. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, currently looking at it. It's at the bottom here. It shows pollen, shows both grass, trees, and weeds. And it says right now, it looks like it has number, numeric from 1 to 4. And so low is 1 out of 4 grass, medium, 2 out of 4 trees, and then 0 out of 4 for weeds right now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you would be relatively okay walking outside right now.
It actually goes through. So right now it currently has up to Thursday. So from today to Thursday until.
Oh.
So when I click on it,
it's forecasted as well. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tells it actually, and if you click on it, tells you actually what trees. So obviously where we're at, cottonwood, cottonwood trees, obviously, juniper.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of gives you a bunch of different of what it is. So,
Yeah.
bravo,
So
I like it.
that would let me know when I need to, like, when during the year I need to be walking around with a blowtorch so that I can just like burn the cotton out of the air.
Just it's like, I can't hang out Thursday. I'm gonna die on Thursday. That's allergies. Pollen. Sorry, ain't happening. That's awesome. No, it's pretty cool. I just checked it out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to some Microsoft news. Quick mention of this one. Any new Microsoft accounts are now passwordless by default. I think is pretty good. If you don't want to have a password, which you probably want to upgrade to something else other than a password.
Yeah. No, I saw this news and I thought this is actually probably the best way to implement bringing in like passkeys and things like that, because
yeah,
I mean, if you're going to do it, you just need to do it. It's one of those things that once you're in the system, it can work really well, but it's like there's so few things right now that do use passkeys that it's kind of hard to just go all in, because you really can't in most scenarios. And so I like that Microsoft just be like, nope, if you're signing up for a new account, it's going to be a passkey or some other form of non-password use login.
Well, it just says that they give you, users will be given several passwordless options for signing into their account, including a passkey. So there's all sorts of different ones. I currently take advantage of this with passwordless accounts, and it's been nice. So definitely helps. So I figured to mention that. So those of you that actually want to have a Microsoft account and want to create one, there you go. There you go. If you don't already have the other Google, most people probably have a Google or an Apple account if you're on the Apple side. So,
well, and then there's people like us that probably, like, I have all three. So
I know, seriously, I do. Well, actually, I don't have an Apple account, but they always send me messages saying that my Apple account has been charged $600 for an app. They let me know.
Hold on, though. You had an iPod. How could you have an iPod and not have any kind of Apple account at any point?
Yeah, I just never had one. I had that old iPod, and I think I was able to get music and stuff on it using. It was a pain in the butt, but I used my. I know I just never had an Apple account. I really haven't. But
you had to use iTunes, and I guess old versions of iTunes you could use without signing in.
I had the second generation iPod.
It whined at you constantly.
Yes, it did. It did. It did. But I just never had one.
Well, they would have given you a whole bunch of free music if you'd signed up, just
True. But I already had a bunch of music, which it irritated me because I already had like hard drives full of music that it was like, sorry, we can't verify this music, so we can't put it on your iPod, on your iPad thing, or iPod. Sorry. And I'm like, oh, so I had to like, because then when I plugged it in, I always had to make sure it wasn't synced. Otherwise, it would wipe it and then try and sync that stuff. I remember it was such a weird
Well,
thing.
here's the thing. Back then, digital music files that you obtained anywhere other than like actually just ripping them off of a CD, it was all DRM'd and freaking sucked. So thankfully, DRM on digital music is not really a thing anymore. So that's nice.
Thank goodness.
But I will say, Landon, all three. Do you have any idea how many Google accounts I have?
Oh, I've got.
I'm not even sure how many Google accounts I have.
I've got at least 4 Google accounts, and I've technically got 3. I guess you could technically say I've got 3 Microsoft accounts because I got 2. In the past I had 2 different MSN emails or Hotmail emails, which is now technically owned by Microsoft.
That's true.
So
yeah, do we count? Because I have a Microsoft account that's affiliated with my Gmail, but I totally have one that also was built off of an Outlook.com one, and then I did have a Hotmail account back in the day. And then, I genuinely don't know how many Google accounts I have.
You guys make it sound like your Microsoft account's like a dirty little secret you have.
I mean,
like, I guess I have this one.
I'm using a Windows computer right now. I'm
That's
agnostic. True. Granted, I hate using Windows for the podcast, if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, the only reason I have a Microsoft account right now is for the Bing rewards.
That's right.
I mean,
the only reason
that's
I have
a good
one.
thing.
And I just got it a few years ago when I started using that. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have a current Microsoft account.
True. That's true. Well, enough about Microsoft for a little bit. Let's go ahead and do our general tech news here. We got new pricing on the OnePlus Watch 3.
Yeah. I mean, listener, this really is the episode of good news, because what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that OnePlus announced that the new pricing on the OnePlus Watch 3, after they fixed the Meta in China typo on the back of it, went from, it was supposed to start at $330, then went to $500 inside of the US.
Yeah.
But they now have said that it will be lowered down to $350. Now, it's not as cheap as it originally was, but it's only $20 versus $170. So that's a significant discount, well, quote-unquote discount that they are now giving. But I am fine with that. And they also mentioned that anybody that had paid $500 to get this watch will, as it says, receive partial refunds directly from OnePlus. Now, I don't know how much of what partial refund means, but they will be getting at least some sort of a refund from OnePlus. So if you, for some dumb reason, happen to have bought this watch at $500, which we did say do not do.
It's true. We did. We cautioned against that.
Then you should be getting some sort of discount or refund back to you. But now I can once again recommend at $350. I think I can recommend this watch, because I did say, like, all the reviews I've seen on this watch were really, really good. And I really like the features on it. I like the way the user interface is on it and things like that. So at $350, I think I can now once again recommend buying the OnePlus Watch 3. So if you did happen to wait and you were still curious about this watch, well, now's the time to buy. Go ahead. Go for it.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to move on to some gaming news. And this is the only time that in this podcast we're going to talk about something terrible.
Oh, you're ruining the vibe, Wes.
I'm totally ruining the vibe. I mean,
I have nothing to say here.
I really debated on actually talking about this. If you guys had been like, hey, wasn't there a big... No, there wasn't.
No,
It's out of my
nothing
nope.
happened.
Nothing happened. Listener, I'm going to assume you know this because apparently this caused a lot of ripples in every news outlet. Microsoft is raising the price of Xbox consoles and controllers worldwide. And it's not pretty. It's anyway, let's get into it. So you're looking about for the consoles. They raised each one of these about $100.
Oh.
So that Xbox Series S, the 512, that used to be $249 when it started at launch, is now $379.
Oh.
That's the 512 gigs, and
That's like one Call of Duty.
dude,
That hard drive. That's like nothing.
No, you're not wrong. Like that, and that's without a disk drive. That's just okay.
That
So
sucks.
I'll go ahead and say it again. Go ahead.
That sucks.
I agree, Wes. Next. Next for the Series S, the 1 terabyte is $429. The Series X digital, so this is the one without the drive, the disk drive, is $549. And the Xbox Series X 1 terabyte is $600. And the 2 terabyte is $729.
Hey, the PS5 Pro called it would like its price back.
Dude.
Seriously.
Dude. Okay, and that was just the consoles. So everything pretty much got a price bump for a lot of accessories. The only accessories that did not get a price bump were the Xbox Adaptive Controller and Adaptive Joysticks. So the controllers are now, so a regular controller is up to $64.99, so that got a $10 increase. Xbox, any kind of colored controller, is at $69.99, almost the price of a Nintendo Switch's Joy-Cons, almost there. Any kind of special edition is going to be $79.99. Any wireless limited edition, so controller limited, so like these Doom controllers, specifically, those are going to go up to $89.99. Your Elite wireless controllers are now at $149. And your, let's see. Oh, I apologize. That was just for the Elite wireless controller to Core. But if you want the full thing, it's $199.
Oh, jeez.
I am ashamed to live in this world.
I agree, Caleb. At this moment.
Yeah. No, that was former me that was less upbeat and positive about things. That's
Caleb is trying really hard not to say things right now. It's pretty interesting to watch his face.
that Caleb does not speak for me.
Xbox stereo headset is now $64.99, and then the Xbox wireless headset is $119. Now, Microsoft did want to let everyone know that they understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. But guess what? That's not all, everybody. They did say during the holiday season that they are going to raise the price of some of its new first-party games to $79.99, and that will apply to both physical and digital versions.
Oh boy, that's got Nintendo written all over it.
Oh, man.
Just saying.
So,
Ouch.
yeah. And you're not even a gamer in this, and you're... Wow. So, listener, right now, if there's any good, I don't know if this is good news. If you were looking for a game right now, they are currently doing a spring sale.
Regularly
look
priced
at it.
games? Is that what that means?
I mean, right now they've got a sale going on, the spring sale. maybe buy your Christmas games now. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Rockstar has confirmed that Grand Theft Auto 6 isn't launching until next year. So, you know, maybe, maybe buy your Christmas games now, because that's not going to be out in time for Christmas. So, yeah, don't worry about it.
Boy, I can't wait for the price of that one. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, it's going to start at $90. We're all aware.
Jeez. But yeah, so now, listener, this is, like I said, we made fun of Nintendo, we made fun of Sony, or you know, Sony, they raised all their stuff. Nintendo just announced all their raises, and that's what Microsoft's like. Well, hold my beer. I want to be a part of this. When, oh man, could you just imagine if they would have just left off till maybe next year or something?
Well, this just tells me that the newest edition of Xbox is not as close as we had hoped. Because if it was going to be coming out anytime this year, even early next year, they probably would have held off on these prices until that one came out. This just says that's not going to be coming until end of next year at the earliest.
Yeah, and I think they're preparing. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is like they didn't raise any prices for Game Pass
yet.
I mean, they did have their quarterly thing a while ago, and everything has made money. Their Game Pass has gone up, everything but hardware. And I look at this and I'm like, so you raised the price? Is that?
Yep. Now this is, I mean, it's classic late stage capitalism. It's all very predictable.
It's true, but this is the only one. This is the only generation of, we'll say, consoles. Going off of this is the only generation where, what is it, 4 or 5 years into the generation that the price has gone up, versus gone down and been on sale. So
it's as simple as 20, 30, 40 years ago, shareholders decided that companies should be able to give them constantly increasing profits exponentially forever with finite actual resources available in the world. And we are now hitting the point where that is fundamentally opposed to reality. and so all of these companies are just like, oh, where are we going to find more profits? At this point, got no friggin' idea. AI, I guess, raise prices on everything. And sure, tariffs obviously aren't helping, but it's not explaining all of this.
No,
this is expected. And like I said, listener, this is a really good time to maybe think about an e-bike. That's
yes. You're not wrong.
What I got.
Anyway, let's move on to a better segment here. That's all the gaming news we have and downside that we want to talk about on this podcast. We're going to move on to one of our favorite segments, which is our Doom segment.
So, listener, Doom modders have taken a lot of different forms and worked in a lot of different ways through the years. What I'm talking about today is, once again, not technically a Doom mod. It's a Doom mod. It's a Doom mod, right? Okay. The joke is that everything can run Doom, right?
Right.
And if I were to tell you that a computer from, 30 years ago runs Doom, you'd be like, 30 years ago I played Doom on a computer. Right, okay, yes. Let me be more specific. The computer you played it on was probably some variation of a PC, right? Whether it was a literal IBM PC or one of the many, many clones that existed in the early 90s, late 80s. Maybe not necessarily, important to note, but that was probably where you played it. What I can pretty much guarantee you did not play it on was an Atari ST, which was a personal computer released for the home market in like 83, 84, something like that originally. And it was, in my humble opinion, speaking as somebody who that was the first computer I ever played games on, so I'm definitely biased, probably the best computer to come out of the 80s. Absolutely loved that thing. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the desktop environment for the Atari ST was better than Apple's. Shots fired.
Wow.
It
Shots
came out
fired.
like literally later that year, but Atari was one of the first ones to fire back with a graphical user interface in response to the release of the Mac. So the Atari ST, special place in my heart, really love it. Developer, what was this guy's name? He goes by, or his GitHub is Indie Joe. He has released ST Doom, which is a backport of Doom, which came out almost a decade after the Atari ST, to run on the Atari ST. Why? Because he could. Yeah, no, I genuinely have no idea. Like, why do I play? I do have an Atari ST emulator on my computer, to be clear, listener. What do I use that for? I use it to go back and like watch the menus of the Pompeii Pirates discs, because game piracy back in the day was actually awesome, and they had custom menus and songs for all of the games that they pirated. It was really cool. Anyways, I go back and I listen to those songs and stuff like that. Like that's what I do with my Atari ST emulator. But I guess I could now go on to GitHub, grab a legitimate copy of Doom or the shareware copy, right? You have to own Doom before you can apply these changes to it, and then recompile it so that it'll run on an Atari ST. Okay. I don't, sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the notable things about this is that the way graphics rendering worked on the Atari ST, diametrically opposed to how it works on like an IBM PC. That was not, like, 3D graphics didn't exist on this thing, and it renders out in 16 colors. I think is it. That's all the color variation that they had on the Atari ST. Crazy weird limitations that this dude had to apply, but he did it. And so if you've got an old Atari ST or a Desire, there's a couple of different Atari emulators that you can go find. I use Atari on Mac. That's been the most stable so far as I've found. Then you can go ahead and grab this sucker, recompile the shareware version of Doom that you can grab off of archive.org, and put it on a 3.5-inch floppy disk and stick it in. I don't know, man. You do what you got to do, listener. But if you've got an Atari ST, you want to play Doom on it, go for it.
That's so cool, though.
It's
Whether you
weird,
do it or not,
but
it's really cool.
do it.
I mean, wow, that's amazing. Well, looks like that's all of our news for this episode, listener. Unless, Landon, you got one more thing for us.
No.
All right. Listener, we appreciate you listening to the end of the episode. If you have anything you want us to talk about or want to say anything or make fun of Caleb for not making any more videos for our YouTube channel, you can. One, on the YouTube channel, Calling All Platforms, on there, you can leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever they say, and ring the bell, whatever they say. The youngins, you can do that, or you can get on our social media platforms, say something there, as well as callingallplatforms.com. All right, listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.